And so we continue with the playthrough. Second round of turns is about to start with China to go first. And as we already know from previous videos, they start with revealing a development event. Alright, so we've revealed a so-called check card. This will override whatever card was slated to come next, and it's already revealed here, so the check will occur first. This is the debt check. For this purpose we look at the debt part of the records track here, which is the minus end of the track. There's no resource cylinder in debt yet. We all are this early in the game doing pretty well, so the debt check at this point doesn't have any meaning, so we will simply set it aside for later inclusion. And so we continue to the opportunity segment, where the Chinese can resolve opportunities or end one opportunity. They are nowhere in position to resolve one. They would need 2 levels of influence. For instance, here they've just got 1 yellow Chinese political influence. There 2 is needed in order to resolve the opportunity in Central Asia. So we continue to the heart of the Chinese turn, which is to play cards. And so let's open the Chinese hand window, and the China will start by nominating the cultural suit, playing all those cultural cards, 3 of them. We send them onto the map here, and so having just looked at the Chinese hand, it only looks like we can play these cards for China. We don't get a second command because there's no opportunity. We have resolved that we could then discard to generate another command. So it looks for the time being that we can only play these 3 cards, but there's a way of extending your turns in the game, which I personally find quite captivating, and it was important to me in the making of this, or in the design of this game, that there was such a possibility. I always enjoy games where you can sort of generate your turn as you go. I think of games like Dominion, the card deck building card game, where that happens quite frequently. And so let's see how that works here. So China will start by playing the 3 represents card. So this is an interesting event because it allows the Chinese to roll 1d6 modified by resources, and if they roll a modified 5 or 6, they remove first of all polarization at the home space, which is good because it allows you to avoid the polarization check. But secondly, it gives them an extra command, so the ability to play more cards, nominate another suit and play more cards. So let's try this, and in order to make this absolutely sure, I'm tempted to spend 4 resources, which means that it will happen definitely. It's quite costly to pay 4 resources, but we really don't want to miss this, so let's go. And so I don't even have to roll the die. I leave that, so I will just simply be able to return polarization back to available, and I will generate another command. So I could take this marker here as a reminder that China has an additional command to spend soon when we've played these cards. So that 1 card has been played, we were discarded, we've got 2 more. So, and on the topic of extending your turn, so you might remember the Chinese hand doesn't have a huge selection of cards there. So we might extend our turn by making use of the event option on this card, which is to draw 2 cards, use 1, discard the other. That could be an interesting one. Here we've got the socialist egalitarianism, which allows us to avoid any check card drawn. Well, we don't need that right now. So let's do the following. Let's play this one here for a pass. So we simply discard the card and therefore take 2 resources back. So going to 4 resources with China, and then we use the consultative democracy to draw 2 cards and use 1. So maybe we are able to combo this with what else we will be able to play from the hand. So let's draw 2 cards. Let's drop them here onto the map. And let's see what we got. We got 1 economic suit card. And we've got 1 military suit card. Okay, so first of all, not that we don't get confused, we discard the used card, and I'm tempted to play this one here for the event option. So this is the event option. There says draw 2 cards to hand, which might allow us to actually make the second command a bit more effective if we happen to draw the right card. So we will use this for the event effect and go back to the Chinese hand and draw 2 cards. We draw 1 political. Well, look, already there we have chance next turn to play these 2 political cards, and we can draw more, except the draw deck is empty, so we return the discard back. We shuffle the discard back into the draw deck and draw another one. We get, well, that's egalitarian socialism again, so good. That's then in the hand for avoiding a check. And so that was that card. And now that concludes the first command. But we earned the right to play a second one. So we then make use of the right now and go to the Chinese hand. Send these onto the map. And since it's 2 political cards, the consequence is increasing terror threat, which we then mark here on the influence track in the Chinese home space. So the question for China here is, how are we going to make use of these 2 cards? So you can basically see 2 options. One is we've got this Hong Kong situation here in China. It's a world event that China only may resolve. If it goes unresolved, China will suffer a 1 VP reduction during the globalization phase after 4 rounds of play. Or if we manage to resolve it, then we will gain 2 victory points, which is obviously great. I need to get 2 levels of political influence here into the Chinese home space, which I could now do with these 2 cards. The advantage there is I would then set up the Chinese to resolve Hong Kong at the start of the next Chinese turn, unless something else happens in the meanwhile. That's one use. The other one could be to increase the Chinese political influence here in South Asia to 2. This would set up the Chinese to resolve this world event, as well as the opportunity here. Again, provided that nothing else happens in that space in the meanwhile during the other players' turns. So it's a tough decision. I say let's go for the second option and start by increasing the Chinese political influence in South Asia by 1, paying 1 resource as the space selection cost. Now notice we get to the reaction abilities, which China has 1 here active in Asia. It says react if an economic or political suit card, for an action it has been played in this region, then China plus 1 resources. And we indeed, China themselves took a political action there, so China will gain 1 resource as a reaction. So that was one reason why to play one of those political actions there. And then we might use this other card simply to spread the Chinese presence a little bit more around the map. The Chinese start with a relatively low presence. So I think this card we will use here in the Caribbean. There's an opportunity there that we can hope to get at some point. So let's pay 1 resource as the space selection cost and introduce a Chinese political influence piece in there. I could have also used this card to put down the reaction ability in Asia in order to secure that nothing happens to this Chinese political influence such that we would not be able to resolve any of this good stuff here. However, I think it's probably at the GameStop better to spread out a little bit. So that concludes the Chinese political, or the second command rather, with political cards. And so we discard those cards, we go into the planning. And given that we now didn't do anything about Hong Kong, we might want to introduce a political suit card into the Chinese deck just to be able to do something about that later on. So we will select this one. It's got a nice event option that we might see in action at some point later on. And then the last thing remaining to be done is to draw further cards into the Chinese hand so that we've got 5. And so that's the kind of hand we are looking at going into the next Chinese turn somewhere down the line. And so there we've done the refill, and so next up we've got Russia in the next video.